So, what would possess us to go live at this time, right now, spur of the moment?
Oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad for so many people. I mean, you say it, dude. You say it.
Okay, so my thing is, and I've tried to like prepare the fan base for it. I have accepted the fact that at the very least, Mac Jones to the 49ers was a realistic thing, right? There are a lot of people that were like 0 chance or 5% chance, 10% chance. I'm like, I give it a higher percent chance. Now I'm kind of going back and forth with how high of a percentage I've given it. At one point, I was saying 50%. Remember, like when somebody first initially asked me, I was like 50%. Oh, thank you, Mama. My daughter made me a Play-Doh sandwich.
You better eat that. You better eat that shit.
I know, right? So at one point, I was like 50% Mac Jones, and then I gave it like 25% to each of Justin Fields and Trey Lance.
Right.
And I've kind of flipped recently, just having the feeling that like maybe it could be Trey Lance. There's just special qualities that he has and things you just can't teach. And even from like the physical things that he possesses, you can't teach that, right? That Trey Lance has. Right. And then you start to understand like how smart he is. Then you understand like the work ethic. And I'm like, damn, he has all these things like you just can't teach. Like that has to be intriguing to a head coach, especially with the upside of what he could be, right? So that's what I'm thinking. I started thinking like, you know what? I think this is Lance. But even then, I was like, I think it's between Lance and Mac Jones.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that didn't want to hear that. And everybody, they want Justin Fields. And again, I do. Like I want Justin Fields. But I just never thought that. I don't want to say never thought, but I started to come along with the fact that it just doesn't feel like Justin Fields. It just didn't feel like it. And then you have Silver come out. It's Adam Silver, right?
Mike.
Oh, damn, I wrote the wrong name on the thing. They're going to be like, it's not that damn Mike Adam Silver. I just go, who's Adam Silver? Is Adam Silver from the NBA? Is that the NBA commissioner?
Yeah, that's the NBA commissioner. Yep.
Okay, well, he definitely didn't say this, but Mike Silver.
Can you edit
Mike Silver. He says, basically, do you want to read it? Do you have his comments pulled up?
Yeah, I got it right here.
All right, go ahead. We got 225 people in here right now watching. So go ahead and
because he titled the damn video Mac Jones to the 49ers. Everybody's like, what? Okay. So Mike Silver of the NFL Network. Love the guy. I've always just appreciated the way he kind of goes about his business. But so these are his tweets. Number one, and it's a total of 8. Okay, but they're tweets, so they're short. So this should, if you're worried about it, this first sentence should worry you. Okay. As per NFL Network policy, I am not allowed to tip picks. And in any case, this is not a report, but I've been asked a lot on here and elsewhere which player I think the 49ers are targeting with their third pick. And I've had some conversations with people who know things. I've not talked to Kyle Shanahan, who will make the ultimate decision as he should. He's got a much envied offensive system and a very specific idea of what kind of quarterback can thrive in that system. And the Niners just made perhaps their boldest trade in the history to get to 3. It is my belief that player the Niners were targeting when they made the trade under the assumption that Lawrence and Wilson would go 1-2 to the Jags and Jets was Alabama quarterback Mac Jones. Obviously, you only make this move if you are very high on Lawrence and Wilson. Once they made the trade, Shanahan, GM John Lynch, and other important decision makers had the luxury of doing some extra digging. Both Ohio State's Justin Fields and North Dakota State's Trey Lance have many attractive qualities, and there's no reason not to continue the process. I'd expect in all likelihood that Shanahan will stick with his original inclination and won't end up deciding he likes Fields or Lance more than Jones, and that he'll never get a shot at Lawrence or Wilson, who will be off the board. Why Jones? Among other things, the Niners believe he has an uncanny pocket skills, especially out of the shotgun formation, and next-level footwork. He can slide in the pocket to either side and react quickly to on-rushing defenders, even unblocked ones. Jones comes from a tennis-playing family and spent some time on the hard court as a kid, and that seems to correlate with the exceptional footwork. He clearly has absorbed a lot of football knowledge, and the synchronization of his throwing motion and footwork is impressive. Again, this is not a report, just telling you what I perceive to be going on, unless And until Kyle proclaims it, there will be enough drama to keep us at least a little on the edge until the pick is announced next Thursday night.
So what are your initial takeaways from that? Like, what are your, like, I mean, when you text me and I had to search it and find it, and I was like, okay.
Well, I mean, dude, like I said, I have a lot of respect for Mike Silver. He's really, really plugged in, just kind of with generally
Hold on, real quick.
everybody.
Mike Silver. I know I put Adam Silver. All these Silvers. I don't know. But anyways, sorry about that, guys.
Right.
Definitely not the NBA commissioner. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like I said when I started to read it, man, the fact that his first line he said on that tweet was, "I'm not allowed to tip picks." You know what I mean? And that just scares me because obviously he's saying he's not allowed to tip picks, but he feels as if what he's saying is along those lines. And he made it very clear in the tweets that this is what he thinks based on the conversations he's had and what he knows about Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. He's making it pretty clear that he's not telling you who the 49ers are picking in a very specific sense. But he's giving you exactly what he thinks is going to happen on Thursday. And I saw Silver tweet a couple days ago saying, I've never tweeted who the 49ers were going to pick at 3, and I think I'm going to do that pretty soon. And these were those tweets. So as much as he has to dance around whatever contractual regulations there are in his NFL's network contract that doesn't allow him to tip picks, I don't think he would have let off with that if he didn't feel like that was sort of what he was doing. So, it could come down to it's a very strong feeling. He's very confident in it. We saw earlier today, Matt Miller, NFL Draft Scout on Twitter. I mean, he dropped $1,000 on it being Mac Jones. And if it's not, he'll donate $1,000 to charity, a 49ers charity. So, and we've had the Mac Jones being thrown at us for a long time. Now, other things have come up. It could be Justin Fields. It could be Trey Lance. But we know that throughout this entire process, the really consistent quarterback that's been tied to Kyle Shanahan at 3 has been Mac Jones. And Mike Silver's just the last in a long line of it's Mac Jones. And, I don't know how seriously I should take it. But I respect the things that Mike Silver says.
I think at some point you have to take it pretty serious because it's been a consistent report. Now, a lot of times it did feel like people were just kind of guessing and people were just kind of speculating. But I feel like enough high up people and people that are highly respected, whether it's Adam Schefter or even Silver or whoever, I think those are things that, reports that you should take seriously, right?
Yeah.
At the very least. And so I look at this and I've kind of been saying that I felt like he was a strong possibility, and I can't see why. So just to kind of play a little damage control here, all right, because I know the 49er fan base does not want this. I'll say this, and you and I have kind of talked about it, here and there on the pod and whatnot, but there are really good qualities with Mac Jones. The issue is the value of the quarterback and using that type of capital to go get a guy. And I always strongly believe, like, if you really like a guy enough, go get him.
I was just going to say that. Like, we've said that so many times.
We've said it. But I do feel like there is some kind of value aspect to it. And I think they're kind of missing out on that part where they kind of, I don't want to say they reached, and I don't even want to say he would have been there at 12. But I do feel like in a situation like this, and it's Mac Jones that you want, and it sounds like you're the only team that's being tied to this quarterback, I feel like maybe you could have slow played it a little better. Whether it was, see if he's at pick 5, pick 6 in the draft. You see the Eagles, who clearly were willing to move back to 12. Then you trade up to pick 6, and you only give up 1 first-round pick, future first, instead of 2 and a third. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they maybe were, and again, we always talk about how, hey, you got to go be aggressive, right? You got to be go get the guy, right?
Yep.
Like, put your nuts on the table, go get the guy, and they're doing that. But maybe we're just a little upset because of the guy that they're getting. And I will say that my biggest issue with Mac Jones is not so much about like him specifically. as it is more so about the guys that he's picking Mac Jones over.
Right.
I think that's the bigger issue I have. Like, we watch these guys on Sundays. We watch, all these dynamic, prolific quarterbacks, and you look at the whole AFC that was in the playoffs, and you see Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, who else was there? Josh Allen, and you're seeing these young, dynamic, up-and-coming quarterbacks, and it's like, man, sure wish I could have one of those. Sure wish Kyle could get one of those. And then all of a sudden, it's like, damn, Kyle got the chance to get one. And he's like, sorry, guys, that is not what I want. I want Kirk Cousins 2.0.
McCorkle.
And that's not to say that McCorkle Jones can't be good. And we have stated plenty of times that, hey, he does a lot of things very well. We have stated that when it comes to doing quarterback things, I think he does them the best in his class. So I see a clear area of what Kyle would like and what McCorkle Jones does very well. But does he do that well enough to pass on the upside of what these other guys are? And in Kyle's opinion, it sounds like yes. In my opinion, and I know there are going to be a lot of people that say, well, you think you know more than Kyle Shanahan? Well, yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
If he can't get out of his own way and go get a more talented quarterback, then yes, I do. I do feel like I know more than him. So, I mean, you can talk a little bit more of this, but I think at the end of the day, and I look at this pick, I feel like, man, we still have the worst quarterback in this division. And that's what we were trying to get out of, without the upside of, like, is he ever going to be a Matthew Stafford? Like, is he ever going to be, and that's not to say that he can't beat the Rams with Matthew Stafford, but he's not going to be viewed as the better quarterback in any of those head-to-head matchups. It's always going to be, well, we just believe in Kyle Shanahan, so the 49ers are going to be the point spread favorites. He's never going to be better than Russell Wilson, but 49ers still can be the favorite. He's not going to be better than Kyler Murray, but maybe he's a more efficient passer. I mean, we'll see. But those other guys are still scarier. I would say that most fan bases are rooting for the 49ers to take Mac Jones.
Yeah, that was something that was brought up. Let me close my door real quick because I know the lady's about to walk in and she's gonna come in and be like, hey, and she's not gonna have any idea that I'm actually on here. The thing that I can't remember who brought it up on Twitter, and I feel like I should remember. So I think somebody said it today. The idea of bringing up the value of Mac Jones versus Justin Fields versus Trey Lance. He feels like if the 49ers were to trade, if the 49ers were to take Mac Jones at 3, the teams would be instantly trying to get a hold of Justin Fields and Trey Lance. You'd have quite a few teams, I would think, trying to trade up and get those guys that may be falling than more than a lot of teams expected they would. But at the same time, if the 49ers didn't take Mac Jones and pick somebody else, are there going to be teams trying to, like, frantically to trade up for Mac Jones? And my inclination says no. If the 49ers don't take Mac Jones at 3, how far does he get?
Well, most people don't even think anybody else wants him. Like, it's for
he certainly hasn't been tied to anybody else.
Let's post this because we have a question here. All right, question, Croc. What can Mac Jones do that Justin Fields can't? I would say he's
there. He does have some qualities.
Well, this is the thing though, because you're not asked. Like, I mean, we don't know what Justin Fields is asked to do in comparison to Mac Jones. So just from like the broad general, like what it looks like is he does a better job of getting the ball out of his hands right now consistently. And that's not to say that Justin Fields can't or doesn't, but I would say on a consistent basis, just kind of more times than not making what looks like the right decisions and getting the ball in his hands and being an efficient ball distributor. I think Mac Jones does a better job at that than Justin Fields. Now, my issue with that is, well, Kyle, you're a coach that gets paid a ton of money. You can't teach this more talented guy to do that? Like, that would be my question and my rebuttal to Kyle Shanahan. They're lucky I'm not in there because I'd be challenged. I probably would have got fired. Because I'd be challenging. I'd be like, Kyle, this is hella stupid. What the?
You're like, who's this regional scout that just charged in the room and is yelling at the 49ers head coach?
Who's this fake media member that's jumping? Hey, I'm budging in there. Don't do it.
with his crop top shirt. He's like, no, you can't do it.
I speak for the fans. We will not allow this.
Now, I would say I was asked this question on Twitter earlier today, and while you're talking this way, I meant to respond to it, and I got sidetracked. But he asked me if he felt that John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan care at all how the fans are going to react to this pick, and my response was going to be, I think a good front office doesn't care how the fans react to their picks, because they obviously have completely different motives for taking somebody. But there is somebody that does care about what the fans think, and that's the guy in charge in Jed York. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I believe John Middlecoff might have talked about this. Maybe that's why it's in my head. There was if Mac Jones is the guy, there was probably a conversation that was had at some point that may have already been had, might not have happened yet, where Jed York needs to know why all of 49ers Twitter is going to cry out in one moment on next Thursday, and why everybody seems to hate this pick so much, and why Kyle loves it so much. And I would never even think in any way would Jed York ever say, no, you need to take this guy, to somebody like Kyle Shanahan. But I think when it's so unanimously hated by a fan base so publicly, I think it's fair to expect that maybe there was some conversation there, right? Like some sort of like, hey, what do you see here, man? You got to at least sell me on this a little bit.
Yeah, real quick before we kind of get more into that, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know there's a lot of people on Periscope in here. On the YouTube is Croc Talk TV. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Make sure you guys show some love, drive these numbers up. All right. But aside from that, to answer your question, yes, I think again, the front office, they're not worried about how the fans feel. Their jobs, their livelihood is on the line with this pick. But I will say this: if he fails, which again, I don't think Mac Jones would fail in this situation. I think he'd do well. Right. But to say he gets there and it's like, God damn, I was everything was so simple at Alabama. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not throwing to Devontae Smith, creating all the separation, or I'm not throwing to Jalen Waddle running past everybody. Now, everything is super contested. Now, the offensive line, I don't have as much time, and he just looks frazzled. If that happens right away, Jed York is going to feel the presence of the fans. I do feel like there's more pressure. Like, you already have a lot of pressure as a head coach. You already have a lot of pressure, with 3 losing seasons in 4 years, and that's including going to a Super Bowl. So there's already a lot of pressure there. But there's going to be an immense amount of pressure if you take Mac Jones and people are looking like you should have taken Fields, which seems like the obvious thing to do, or Trey Lance. But I think if you take one of those two guys, I feel like it buys you more time. I think people are like, you know what? Well, we weren't expecting them to be this precise guy out the gate. We're going to give him time to develop, right? We're going to give Trey Lance. We knew Trey Lance wasn't ready yet, right? Like, oh no, he has time. Like, let's give him a year or so. Like, you have time. Justin Fields, you got time. You draft Mac Jones, you have no time. He's got to hit the ground running. And if it looks funny and it's not legit, you're going to hear from people. And do not let Justin Fields go somewhere and look like, there is a chance he goes to Carolina. I was thinking they were off they weren't picking the quarterback at all, right? They just traded for Sam Darnold. And then you find out, oh no, we're waiting until after the draft to pick up his 5th-year option.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, that just came out today.
They're so it's like, to see who falls into their lap, man.
We're going to see. We got a quarterback right now. We feel better than Teddy Bridgewater. He gives us a chance, and we're willing to go to war with him. But if Justin Fields, if there's a chance to get him, we are going to grab Justin Fields. That's what I heard when I read that.
Well, so they were reportedly in on Deshaun Watson probably stronger than everybody else was. And Justin Fields gives you a lot of the same traits. So, not. If Justin Fields goes to Carolina and he has DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Christian McCaffrey and Joe Brady being puppet master, and he goes and he balls out, oh, baby, that is not going to be good for Kyle Shanahan. He better hope Mac Jones looks like the second coming of Tom Brady. But I mean, the crazy thing is obviously there's between that and there's still a huge realm of success for Mac Jones. That doesn't mean being Tom Brady. But we were just talking about it last night. What are the quarterbacks that you even hope he develops into that aren't the ones that are just athletically dominant now, that we've seen just take off and, smack the 49ers around a little bit? It's tough. What elite traits does Mac Jones have? If we can get, he's got them. He's got some.
He has an elite feel in the pocket. I will give him that. We get on Nick Mullins a lot for this. We got on Jimmy Garoppolo a lot about this, like they drop back and they're just like statues in the pocket and they just stand right there and then they want to throw from right there. And it's like, dude, forced fumbles happen like that. People get pushed into your lap. I do think Mac Jones, at least at Alabama, had an elite feel for maneuvering in the pocket and being able to get the ball off with good timing still. And sometimes he moves away from it right now. Like he'll take the snap and immediately feel the pressure off his left side. You'll see him slide to the right, keep his eyes upfield, and make a throw. And I would say if he has an elite trait, it's definitely that. I think that's probably the best thing. Appreciate you watching on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, Croc Talk TV. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff.
I would say some of the things that Mac Jones does that are either very, very good or borderline on elite is what Croc was just talking about. He's by far, Justin Fields is pretty good in the pocket. I would say Justin Fields is underrated in the pocket based on what you hear people say about it. Justin Fields wants to throw. But I would say Mac Jones is far and away the best quarterback in the pocket of this class. He has a very good feel for it. He's got great feet. He really, for the most part, for a guy that's not huge and not strong, he doesn't really care about pressure very much. Like there's some, and when I mean pressure, you can go on and you can find a ton of great throws with a free rusher just coming right at him. And, he'll stand there and he'll keep his eyes on where he's got to throw that ball until the very last second. And he's good. He's good at knowing where to go with the ball really quickly. But at the same time, and you mentioned this earlier, I'd probably be pretty good at knowing where to go to the ball if I knew my guy was going to win like 9 out of 10 matchups.
Right. And I know that I'm going to have good protection 9 out of 10 plays.
Times, right.
Yeah, from that standpoint, it's a little bit easier to be more comfortable with going through your reads and not being as pressed mentally. And I think that's the one thing you don't know, right? Like when he does feel pressed, does he have the ability to make up from that, for that with, his arm or his legs and stuff like that? I think everything is going to have to be understanding everything pre-snap, delivering the ball, getting out of his hands. And there is a clear area where this works out. But does it work out to the extent of, damn,
the other quarterbacks?
I got to go toe-to-toe with this guy, and then all of a sudden my defense isn't playing well, and maybe my offensive line isn't blocking as great. Am I still able to overcome that and make plays to hurt the other team, right? Like Justin Fields, Trey Lance, like they can do things, I'm pretty sure, in the context of the offense that Kyle Shanahan designs for them, right? But there's going to be those few times a game where the play breaks down, and you're going to have to be able to do something that still hurts the opposing team, that makes them feel defeated. When a lot of times when Russell Wilson's back there and he's back there to throw, and then it's like, oh, we got everybody locked up. It's a big third down. We need to get this ball back to have a chance to go down and score. And all of a sudden he scrambles for 18 yards. Like, is Mac Jones going to be able to give you that? And maybe it doesn't look like that, right? Maybe it looks like him doing a nice throw on the move or something. But even then, he's typically not that guy, at least not to the extent of, giving you those back-breaking plays. I think he definitely does a good job of hike, balls out, boom, good job, efficient. But you're going to need him to go above and beyond the X's and O's at some point. And is he going to do that? So that's going to be the interesting thing to kind of wait and see.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with that. Mac Jones offers you Mac Jones offers you everything you want. Outside, his arm could be a little bit better. Mac Jones offers you everything you want within the perfect little confines of the play. Like the way you draw it on the whiteboard, like Mac Jones can do all that to a very high level. But the moment, like you said, the moment things start to break down, that's when these other quarterbacks would provide a little bit more of a boost that we've kind of felt like Kyle Shanahan's offense was lacking. There was never anything made for the most part, off script. And we've seen so much how big of a benefit that can be. And like you're talking about, it can be so deflating for a defense to do everything right, have everybody covered, even put pressure on the quarterback, and he just takes off and picks up the first down, slides, and heads back to the huddle. And you're like, God damn. And Mac Jones, for the most part, I mean, he ran a 4.6 if we're ready to claim that was legit. But it's just tough, man, because we were talking about this yesterday. And based on what Kyle Shanahan knows and the conversations he's had with Mac Jones, maybe Kyle feels like, dude, this guy is me in a quarterback. Like, right. I feel like Mac Jones understands everything I understand. And if Kyle Shanahan really has that high of opinion of Mac Jones, of the way he sees the game and the way he plays from the pocket, maybe Kyle Shanahan feels like they will be at a level together as far as their understanding of the offense and what's going on the field that will be so high that they will be able to overcome all of the physical limitations of Mac Jones, his physique and his athletic ability. So
there are a lot of people questioning his 40 time because you said 4.6. Yeah. And his official at his pro day, which was hand time, but what they come together was a 4.79. So you guys are out there, and I know everybody's throwing the numbers out there. Here's a 4.79, and that 4.79 is hand time in comparison to some of the other guys that you guys are kind of comparing them to, which was laser at the combine. So like Mahomes ran his 40 at the combine. So Mahomes 4.8, that's combine time, 40-yard dash in comparison to Mac Jones 4.79, which is pretty much a 4.8, which is hand time. So they're not really the same. Really, right. Mac Jones is closer to a 4.9, and I think he plays at about 4.9.
Yeah,
4.95. He plays at that because you can still run in a straight line and it not be as fast as you play. I think his biggest issue is he's not elusive at all. Like, he can't start, stop, change direction. I put one play where I called him Mac Vick, where he was running right. Remember, and it took him like 10 steps to stop and change direction.
Well, and I said the 4.6 because when I was watching his pro day when he ran the 40, and that were the initial times that were being thrown around on Twitter, and and that's what they said on the little broadcast. So obviously, I'm not putting any stock in Mac Jones' 40 time. If anything, I knew the moment they read that time, I was like, are we sure? And then if you looked at him wearing that 40, he was like falling, like he didn't even know how to stop running. He just like kept falling forward. And then eventually, like 30 yards downfield, he finally stopped. So it's obviously not something that I'm putting any stock in whatsoever. He doesn't Patrick Mahomes looks like he plays much faster. And again, Patrick Mahomes ran like a 4.7 something. And so, I mean, like I said, to me, it comes down to if I'm trying to think like Kyle Shanahan, I'm thinking that he sees Mac Jones and says, this man can operate within the confines of my offense better than any quarterback I've seen in some time. And he must, think about it too, because what we talked about yesterday about what traits Jimmy Garoppolo gives you, they're very similar quarterbacks. So, is basically Kyle Shanahan just saying that he thinks Mac Jones is 3 times smarter than Jimmy Garoppolo and will know his offense 3 times better? I'm just using the number 3.
Cheaper.
Right. Yeah, he's cheaper, but he's not even – I wouldn't even say he's as athletic as Jimmy Garoppolo. He might be better in the pocket, but Jimmy Garoppolo's not horrible.
I think he's – okay, so now this is the thing, because you have to use context. He was better at a lot of things, but we're comparing college – Mac Jones at Alabama to NFL
Jimmy
Garoppolo,
right,
with a hit and miss offensive line at times. So we're comparing these two things, and you can say, well, yeah, this guy looks much better at Alabama than Jimmy Garoppolo, but like we're comparing college in the best situation in all best possible of college situation. Football,
right?
Throwing to and all these guys weren't there the whole time with Mac Jones, but at some point in time, he had 4 guys on the field at the same time that are going to go in the top 15 receivers. And that's not including his running back that's likely going to be a first-round pick, and his offensive line that have draft picks on there. So, like, that was the most ideal situation. and we're comparing him to an NFL player where now the playing field is much more even and level from a talent perspective. So
Right.
I can say his pocket mobility and movement skills were better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I could say him throwing the ball downfield looked better than Jimmy Garoppolo, right? But once you get him in the NFL locker room in that offense, is it still going to look like that? And that's the unknown. Maybe it does. Maybe it looks better, right? Maybe it looks better than what he was at Alabama. Maybe he's not even a finished product. I've said it like, man, if the guy just worked on his physique, he might even be a better athlete. And
if he lifted a weight, just one of them.
Yeah. So, Croc, they all had good talent. Nobody in the nation has Alabama's talent. So I'm responding to this right here. Alabama has the best talent in the nation. So yes, some of these dudes had good talent around them. Nobody has better talent than Alabama. Alabama has the number 1 or number 2 recruiting class every single year on both sides of the ball. These things are not created equal. Right. Nobody has 2 top 10 receivers. No, I mean, we're talking about he's going to be throwing to 4 guys that are going to be going in the top 15. That is unheard of.
Well, and I even have seen, I don't know how true to fact it was, but I've even seen saying that all 5 members of the offensive line could be considered first-round talent. Like, he had every single player on the field with him was elite. So
did LSU last year. Here's the difference between LSU and what we're seeing from Alabama. All right. LSU, and I don't want to be a guy that's like moving the goalposts, but this is what was brought up and what the difference is between basically, because he's talking about Joe Burrow having a great situation, which he did, and Mac Jones having a great situation. Joe Burrow had better traits. If Mac Jones had the mobility and off-script playability and the ability to make plays with his legs and all these different things that Joe Burrow did, I think their arm talent is similar. But Joe Burrow was a much better athlete on the field. You know what I'm saying? Much better with what he was able to do. And he presented the opportunity to have those back-breaking plays that Mac Jones can't do. So when you're comparing them to prospects and stuff like that, they're different from that standpoint.
I saw a lot of little things mentioned because I did see a lot of people asking on social media, NFL analysts, why is Mac Jones not getting Joe Burrow comparisons and why is their stock not as high? And I saw a lot of things mentioned like tight window throws and stuff that were, a little bit more in the more advanced metrics as far as quarterbacking goes. They were saying that basically Matt Barrow, shout out. The throws Joe Burrow were making were much more impressive and, difficult and stuff like, and obviously but that's completely separate from
that's the biggest difference is Joe Burrow is a playmaker. He can make the plays for you. He can make the plays. That's the biggest difference. They're both going to have these good throws. I think Mac Jones is just as good a passer for the most part as Joe Burrow. I don't think that their arm strength or anything like that is drastically different. I think they both had elite players around them that made plays and maybe, I don't want to say made them look better than what they were, but did some really good things. But the biggest difference between those guys and why you're more willing to take one guy at 1 and we're like, you can't take this guy at 3 is one guy is a playmaker as well on top of the other things he's able to do from the pocket, regardless of the talent around him. And that was clear. That was clear. Yeah, no,
I don't know what else to say on it, man. It is. We'll see. I think that the one thing, and you've said it a couple times here, is the one thing that people need to know is you think this too, and you said it is. I think Mac Jones will be good with the 49ers. If he's the guy, he's gonna be good. But I think his odds
to win Rookie of the Year will be really high.
Right, because he's just falling into. For a rookie, as far as a rookie quarterback is concerned, he's falling into a situation that is as close to Alabama as a rookie quarterback could fall into. You're talking about a pretty solid offensive line, surrounded by a lot of talent, a great backfield with what could be the best offensive coordinator in the NFL. But we're not really talking about, is Mac Jones going to be good? We're talking about, is Mac Jones worth the 3rd overall pick? Is Mac Jones worth trading 3 first-round picks to or giving for 3 first-round picks to take? Is Mac Jones' ceiling and what, let's say 3 years down the line, is Mac Jones going to be giving you what Trey Lance or Justin Fields would be giving you at that point in their careers? Because this is a long-term move. I don't give a shit about winning now and how good Mac Jones will be in his first year, but you got to think, 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line, which quarterback is going to be firing on all cylinders the quickest? And is that going to be Mac Jones? I have my doubts. I feel like the talent of Trey Lance, the talent of Justin Fields in the same situation as Mac Jones would be falling into would eventually take you further. But I'm not Kyle. I don't know. And I certainly don't have the resume to be able to call it, but
you know what
you're
looking at. You know what you're looking at. You know what you're looking at. You text me, you're like, hey, he makes some hell of a throws, right? Like, like it doesn't take a rocket science. I think people think with like talent evaluating is like, and I might be able to see certain things with a cornerback that maybe other people don't. And I think the biggest thing with the cornerback or receiver is just being able to, like put into words what I'm seeing so you guys can understand what you're seeing. But everybody knows what they're seeing. When you watch a quarterback, you know what you're looking at. Now it's just like, what more is there to it? Like, where is he from the mental standpoint? Is he somebody who's going to put in the work to work hard? But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see talent. Everybody in this chat right now, they know what talent looks like. Now, there are some people that might be a little like biased one way or the other. I think we do a good job of, not really pushing an agenda. Because if you could just get in here, we've been open. We've been talking about it since October about how Mac Jones is the perfect Kyle Shanahan quarterback. So it's not like we think that this is something that's just not going to work. The issue is I never imagined us being able to pick at 3 and have a shot at somebody like Justin Fields. That's where I have a little pushback. It's not that I don't think Mac Jones won't be good or won't be able to win Rookie of the Year or anything like that. It's really more specifically about I can't take Mac Jones over Justin Fields. Right. If you remove Justin Fields and even Trey Lance from the situation, you would have no issues with them taking Mac Jones. I wouldn't care. But you have a chance at a guy, and we're going to watch these guys grow, and don't let Justin Fields go to Carolina. Don't let him go to Carolina because it's going to make Kyle Shanahan look not great unless this dude is just, but even then, even the eye test, you're going to watch it and it's going to look like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo, and watching the other guy look like Deshaun Watson. Like it's still, you can still be happy with having Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Like I went to a Super Bowl, but you're going to be watching Deshaun Watson like, damn, imagine if we had that. And that's what I think the issue would be.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. It's just a weird position to be in because, again, we're not saying that Mac Jones won't be good, but it's just that feeling in the back of your head, like it's time for Kyle Shanahan to get himself one of these. Like I get it, he can have the truck that's going to take all your stuff, carry it with you, and take it everywhere you need, and be reliable and do all the dirty work and stuff. Or he can just get himself a sports car that that can just fly. And I've just wanted to see somebody in that position that can do things that Kyle Shanahan's offense might not call for every now and then, and can roll out of a pocket that's collapsing and make the big play downfield because the receiver or the DBs can't cover anybody that long and stuff like that. And maybe Kyle Shanahan hates that shit because he wants his offense to be ran to a T. And before any of that happens, he wants the ball to be released already. So he's saying like, dude, the ball needs to be out in 2.5 seconds. So I don't care about all that shit. That could be what he's saying. And I want the guy that's going to know exactly where to go with the ball before any of that happens. But I don't know, man. It's yes, Mac Jones has to become Drew Brees for this to be a success. I don't like those odds. And that's kind of where I am too. Like what's considered successful for Mac Jones would have to be a pretty lofty target. That just doesn't happen very often. Drew Brees, Tom Brady. Ben Roethlisberger is more athletic. What else? Kirk Cousins, but that's Kirk. And Baker Mayfield's not a. Baker Mayfield tries to act like he's athletic, but he's he's not here very fast.
Right. It's comparable. But even then, we look at those guys, right? Like everything is. I mean, Baker Mayfield has Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and Njoku, and I mean, the best running back tandem in all of NFL. You know, like you have, and that made Baker Mayfield look decent, and still lost to a Kansas City Chiefs team with Chad Henne at quarterback. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know, like Baker Mayfield's not bad, but like that's what we're talking about. Like more than likely, he's gonna look like something like that. He's gonna be closer to what Baker Mayfield looks like, what Jared Goff looks like, than what Drew Brees looks like and what Tom Brady looks like. And
Jared Goff's a bit more in the realm of
when you bet on the upside, there's just a higher payoff, right? Like look at that same draft, and you got Baker Mayfield and you got Josh Allen. If they had to do it again, if they had to redo the draft tomorrow, would the Browns take Baker Mayfield over Josh Allen, knowing what they are today? No way.
Not a chance.
So at some point, you have to believe in that you have the ability to get this guy to reach his highest heights and his peaks and put him in a great situation. And his talent is going to be something that can also help take you over the top. And I think that's where if Kyle Shanahan does pick Mac Jones like it's being reported, I think that's where the issue is. Do you have any final thoughts or anything before we get out of here? Because we kind of want to just kind of break that down a little bit.
No, I mean, I think we've said everything we can say on the idea that's not even a reality yet. It's still just in the air. We'll see. I just fall back on like, look, if Kyle Shanahan's willing to put his career in the hands of Mac Jones, then we'll see.
All right,
we'll see.
All right, hey man, I appreciate everybody checking in. At one point, we were up over like 350 people watching. Make sure if you're not already subscribed to Croc Talk TV. Make sure you guys hit that like button, all that good stuff. I appreciate everybody for checking in. We're out, man. Thanks everybody for coming by.